I now yield to Representative Hice, who is representing Ranking Member Comer for this hearing, for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I thank each of our witnesses for being here this morning, and I would like to begin by echoing the Chairwoman's thoughts and concerns for those in harm's way in Florida and South Carolina and elsewhere with the hurricane. Truly, when one state in this country suffers, we all suffer with them, and our prayers, our concern, and our aid certainly are with those who have been affected. 50 years ago in Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court tragically strayed from the text of the Constitution and took away from the American people the power to decide the question of abortion for themselves. This constitutionally illiterate decision resulted in the death of over 63 million unborn Americans. As Justice Byron White wrote in his dissent, quote, "This issue, for the most part, should be left with the people and to the political processes the people have devised to govern their affairs," end quote. This summer, the Supreme Court heeded the wisdom of Justice White and returned that moral decision to the American people and to the democratic process through the Dobbs decision. And I would underscore the word moral decision. This is a moral, spiritual, and religious issue for countless millions of Americans who hold to a biblical worldview on life. Those who hold that life is precious, that it is created by God, and I certainly count myself among that number of millions of Americans. In fact, the Bible mentions multiple instances where individuals were known in the womb before they were born. People like Jacob and Esau, Samson, Isaiah, Jeremiah, King David, the Apostle Paul, John the Baptist, all the scripture references were known in the womb before they were born. And for us or companies to have policies, laws, or requirements to force people to violate their deeply held religious convictions is just wrong, whether it be forcing them to use their tax dollars to pay for abortions or whether it be forcing individuals in the medical industry to assist in abortions when it goes against their religious beliefs or be fired if they don't do so. It's wrong for us to go down that path. But putting that aside, this hearing today, rather than engage honestly on the merits of politics and law and science, Democrats are fear-mongering and spreading misinformation. In fact, the New York Times published a piece encouraging Democrats to, quote, "lean into the politics of fear," end quote. Instead of following the science, Democrats are trying to ignore it or spin it for political purposes. If we are following the science, then modern medical advances make it clear that unborn babies are just that, precious human lives that we must protect. The 4D ultrasound provides the means to understand more about unborn babies than at any other point in history. And here's just a few examples. Within the first 4 weeks of pregnancy, the baby develops a heartbeat. Despite, by the way, claims of my home state's gubernatorial candidate, Stacey Abrams, this is not merely a manufactured sound. It's an ultrasound. Referring to an unborn baby's heartbeat as mere cardiac activity does not change the fact. It's another attempt to simply deny what we are talking about, and that is a human life. As early as 12 weeks, a baby can feel pain, which is exactly why anesthesia is administered to a baby during fetal surgery. In fact, the only cases that anesthesia is not administered is during an abortion. By 15 weeks, all of a baby's major organs are formed, and the circulatory system is pumping approximately 26 quarts of blood per day. Babies that are born as early as 22 weeks and receive hospital treatment survive at rates at nearly 60%. Just recently, scientists recorded evidence that unborn babies respond with facial reactions to flavor of foods eaten by their mothers. It's fascinating. Over the past several decades, scientific advancements have provided us with amazing insights into the development of a human baby in its mother's womb. Unfortunately, Democrats outright deny the science and spin false narratives to avoid one unmistakable fact: unborn babies are human beings and they deserve the right to life. Thankfully, the American people do not support the Democrats' radical legislation like H.R. 8296, the Abortion on Demand Until Birth Act. Every Democrat on this committee voted for legislation that would allow abortion up to the moment of birth. This is a radical position. It is so extreme that it puts the Democrats on par with authoritarian dictatorships like North Korea and China. Even France prohibits abortions after week 14. Polling conducted after the Dobbs decision found that 72% of Americans, including 75% of women, oppose abortion after 15 weeks of pregnancy. That's why Republicans are fighting for the will of the American people. Let's call this hearing today what it really is. It's nothing other than a desperate political ploy. It's a ploy to distract the American people, number one, from issues they're facing, like skyrocketing inflation, skyrocketing crime, the border crisis, students' learning loss from school closures, the fentanyl crisis, and we can go on. This hearing today is a ploy to distract from that, but it is also an attempt to continue fear-mongering against policies for life and to distract what this issue of abortion versus life is really all about. Yet Democrats continue to distract from the reality that they have created that the American people across this country are suffering from. Fortunately, this political ploy, I believe, will join a long list of Democrat failures. It's time today in this hearing, however, to stop denying science. Unborn children are human beings, and they deserve the right to live.